Hey everybody, my name is Jennifer. This is Metatron speaking. Today I'm going to be answering a question, or I guess it was a suggestion that came through from one of my viewers. So recently I put out a video and articles on Medium talking about the spiritual purpose behind illness, such as like having a cold or having a flu. And their question was, can you do a video where you talk about the spiritual purpose of like schizophrenia or psychosis? So the answer is yes, it's going to be this video. So this is gonna I'm going to stretch it out a little bit. So I'm going to talk about schizophrenia and psychosis, but I'm also going to kind of include obsessive compulsive disorder, anxiety, and depression. So keeping in mind, this is a huge spectrum of different mental health struggles, is what I'll call them. Mental health struggles. It's difficult, it is very difficult to accurately cover these topics. And that's probably why I've shied away from it, because it's a lot more complex than what we have the time to get into, but it's also more complex than what I understand. Because regardless of who the channeler is, we all have a 3D brain, right? We all have a 3D brain. We're on a 3D planet, we got a 3D body. And the 3D brain cannot fathom, cannot register the higher dimensional knowledge, which includes the full truth, right? So I'm only able to comprehend a little piece, and then I pass that little piece on to you guys because that's the best I can do, right? So basically what Metatron does when he's giving me information like this is he takes the whole truth, and then he like cuts off a lot of it and he like squishes it down, and it's like, okay, this little bit you guys can understand, and everything. And so hopefully when I'm explaining some of these things, the mind will go, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But at the same time, there might be part of you that's like, yeah, but this doesn't feel complete. And it's because it's not. It's because it's not. So, but we're still going to dig into this, and this is going to be kind of food for thought for all of you. I'm going to give you a lot of different sets of information on these topics because it's never simple. It's never cut and dry. It's never, this happens because of this. It's never that easy because these are very complex conditions, and the reasons behind that condition are equally complex. Let's see. Many of you probably know someone who's going through one of these conditions, or perhaps it's even you. So as you listen to the information, you might be trying to find a puzzle piece, right? Like, you know someone with the condition, or you have it, and I'm like, hey, might be this, might be that, might be this, might be that. And you might be sitting there going, like, does this puzzle piece fit? And it won't just be one of the puzzle pieces. It'll be some of them or all of them. And then there's also the puzzle pieces that are still missing, if that makes any sense. So just try to have kind of like an open mind while you're listening to the information, and that'll help you tap into the bigger picture more, which will bring you closer to the truth. Okay. I can see a typo that I wrote, so I'm trying to figure out what I was actually saying right there. Oh, now I understand. Okay, so I wrote down notes here in advance because if I didn't, I would forget to cover some things because my brain is just like, pew, pew. It's like not focused. So it helps me to have it like, these are the points Metatron wants me to go over. So first off, having a world, if you think of like the big picture, having a world where there are people who struggle with schizophrenia or OCD, it gives the world an opportunity to expand their compassion and love. The world is currently in the process of recognizing that someone with one of these conditions is a person worthy of dignity, empathy, and specialized supports to improve the quality of their lives. So this mirrors how the world is currently like in the process of recognizing people with like a physical disability or with a disability like Down syndrome or autism. So the world is currently also in the process of recognizing that these people are worthy of dignity, empathy, and specialized supports to improve the quality of their lives. So we are evolving from a world that would shun these people. So whether we're talking about the autism and the Down syndrome, the physical disabilities, whether we're talking about schizophrenia, psychosis, anxiety, depression, we are evolving from a world who would shun, ignore, and ridicule those with certain challenges, right? Like if you're not like everybody else, you're not really a person, right? That's the energy of the world that we're coming from. By having an increase in these conditions, and I'm calling them these conditions, so schizophrenia, psychosis, OCD, etc. By having an increase of individuals with these conditions in the population, each of us begins to be impacted. So this might not be a condition that you yourself are managing. However, we know of a friend who has it, or we know a child that was born with something, or we know of a family member, of someone we love. It's like, okay, my friend's brother has this. Like everyone is starting to know people with these conditions. This allows differences in the population to be normalized. This allows the general population to be educated. And this allows the changing of the collective energy towards these individuals into more love and compassion. So this is one frame of reference that I'm giving you, which is really far back. This is a bigger picture purpose. Okay. With schizophrenia and psychosis specifically, I want to talk to you a little bit more about energetically why that is. So people with schizophrenia and psychosis, these are conditions where their energy bodies are different than the standard energy body on the planet. So what's going on for them is they have more minor chakras open than the rest of us. So they are picking up on more spiritual data is what we'll call it, right? They can sense other beings, they can sense other dimensions, whether these are guides, whether these are demons, whether these are galactics, whether this is past, present, future. They are tuned into additional sets of information. I remember we were talking about the 3D mind earlier and how the 3D mind is like not super helpful with a lot of tasks. Our 3D minds are not capable of managing the kinds of information that can come in from other dimensions, especially since people with psychosis or schizophrenia, it's not like they're like, yeah, I'm a spiritual person, so I'm just gonna like meditate and I'm gonna try to connect with my guides, right? Like they're not sitting there going, this is what I want, I'm trying it, I'm mindful of it. They're not doing that. They're just trying to mind their own business, live their own lives, and they are getting another set of data coming in that's competing with their reality, right? And again, 3D mind is not meant to manage that whatsoever. So they are, yeah, so not only are they getting information that cannot be processed by the human mind, but they have competing realities. And so the multiple realities that they're able to detect start like merging into its own new reality almost. Um, yeah, they can detect information from other dimensions, and yet they are living in the third dimension. I anticipate there being a time in the future when those with knowledge of the spiritual world, maybe somebody like me, um, combine their efforts with those who have knowledge of those conditions, like psychologists, psychiatrists. So, someone like me and someone who knows those conditions backwards and forwards, those two types of people working together for the benefit of those they are helping. So I do see a future, and I see this happening like in my lifetime, is what I think. I think we're right on the edge of getting to the point where um, modern mental health starts to combine with modern spiritual knowledge, awareness, in order to make a better, more comprehensive plan for that individual to help support them. Yeah. So schizophrenia and OCD and anxiety, all these things, they're a result of energetic factors, and also free will can play into it. And I'll talk about that in a moment. So for the energetic factors, so if you have someone who is like schizophrenic, they're maybe hearing voices. Um, I'm just going to tell you what I wrote. So if the voices are cruel or like violent, like they're encouraging them to be violent against themselves, they're encouraging them to be violent against other people, then that helps someone like me to know what type of energy they are connecting to. So again, so these are not imaginary voices, and so that's part of the problem, right? Is that the stigma in the current medical system is, okay, these people are crazy, they're delusional, they're things that aren't there. It would help if they recognize that these people are not crazy. These are not imaginary voices. Like they are actually connecting to another energy, right? Or more likely than not, there's multiple energies that they're able to connect with, multiple kinds of energies they're able to connect with. So they are able to hear other entities. And when the voices are telling them to hurt themselves or other people, then typically we know that they are connecting to like demons, basically. Usually that means they're connecting to demons, which are in like the first or the second dimension, depending on what the message is. But it also could include, theoretically, departed souls. So every once in a while, you get someone who dies who's a not nice character and they don't want to move on and they kind of just want other people to be miserable like they are. And so they could be, theoretically, be part of this also. It's also possible that these individuals have uh, galactic implants. So, galactic implants are, they look like metal, is what they look like. They look like metal. And so these are placed into those who are incarnated by those who have a dark agenda, I guess is what I could say. By those who are trying to promote dark energy, who are from another planet, I guess is how I'll say it. So they could have galactic implants attached to them. And so some of these galactic implants, how do I explain it? It's almost like a radio system where it just hooks you up to that other dark galactic entity. So that being could be like, this is the message I'm giving you. And the person feels like it's their thoughts, but it's not. So that's part of it. Oftentimes, the people with psychosis or schizophrenia, possibly the other conditions as well, but probably more so those two. Oftentimes, those individuals have entered into contracts, either in the current lifetime or past lifetimes, that are allowing for that deeper, stronger connection with an entity that it's not in their best interest to be connected to them, but because of the contract they signed into at some point, it is allowing it, it's authorizing it, it's making it worse than it would be if there was no contract. Let's see. So some aspects of these conditions can be removed, right? Like if you have someone in your family who has psychosis or who has schizophrenia, and you came to us and you're like, can you help? We can review their energy and see what information we come back with. We can clear, absolutely. We can clear galactic implants. We can clear any contracts that are not in their best interests, right? We can do that because they're energetic. We can remove those. However, there are other factors that could be at play, including the free will that I mentioned earlier. So theoretically, if someone has entered into a contract that is not in their best interests, and let's say, this is just theoretical, this has never happened, but let's say, never happened as far as what I've seen with clients, I should say. If someone has schizophrenia, and we're going to pretend the only reason they have schizophrenia is they signed a contract in a past lifetime that is allowing multiple entities to speak through and interact through that physical body whenever they incarnate. So if that was the only reason they had schizophrenia, and we could clear the contract because we get permission from their higher selves. So whenever we're working on animals, children, someone who can't consent because maybe they're like in a coma or they're not in the right state of mind, those who have, and again, so those who have conditions like autism, those who have conditions like schizophrenia, we talk to the higher selves and we get permission from them to see if they'll accept the energetic work. Because theoretically, the higher self could say, nope, we like it how it is. This serves a purpose exactly as it is. We don't want to change anything. So we check with the higher self. So if that was the only reason for that person to have schizophrenia, boom, they're just cured. They're healed completely, right? But again, I haven't seen it ever that straightforward for something that complex. Usually these complex manifestations are the result of complex energetic factors and free will. And I'll talk about free will in a second. I know I keep saying that. We still need to talk about the energetic factors. So one of these energetic factors is having complex emotional trauma from past lifetimes. So all struggles, think of this, all struggles in all of our lifetimes tie back to past lifetime issues. So this is everybody in the world, everybody in the universe. Your struggles that you're having in your life tie back to past lifetime trauma that have not been resolved. It's too, yeah. So I'm not going to like dive deep into that because that's like its own beast right there. It's too complex to dive into for the purposes of this video. So we're just going to leave that as one of the factors, emotional trauma. And that most likely that's multiple lifetimes, multiple situations. It's not like, oh, it's just this one bad lifetime. No, it's like there's complexity to how that's manifested. Another very common factor is that these situations are part of the person's soul contract. So your soul contract, I would call that the agreement, the big long contract that you make when you don't have a body right before you decide to be born, in this case on Earth. So there's a big contract and it's like, this is your mom, this is your dad, this is, where you're going to be born, this is your sun sign, this is how you're going to look, this is, what the circumstances of your life, these are the hard-coded events that are going to happen during your life, like these are your guide, like it's a contract, right? It's huge. These are your lessons you're working on. So a lot of times this is a hard-coded event that the person agreed to. Yep, gonna have schizophrenia in that lifetime. Which means it was meant to happen. Which means not only does it mean it serves a purpose, but it means it serves many purposes because everything is super interconnected in the circumstances of our lives. So there will be multiple reasons for them having that condition that serves their best interests, that serves the best interests of their soul, is what I should say, because it may be absolutely devastating in the physical body. But from the perspective of the soul, it may be very beneficial to gain experience, to learn lessons. There are lots of factors there. Let me see what I wrote. I lost my spot. Okay, so somebody signing up for schizophrenia for this lifetime, technically this kind of falls under free will. So this is me starting to talk about free will. So your soul, or their soul, if they signed up for it, this is like them agreeing that this is going to be something useful for the soul. Yeah, this is something that was agreed upon by that soul before they incarnated. Because it is chosen by their free will, while it is not something... Oh, gosh, I'm sorry, I have typos. Since it's chosen by their free will, if that's the case, it's possible that their higher self might even reject any energy healing whatsoever. It just kind of depends. But when their soul has chosen it for a purpose, that cannot be undone. Like, somebody would have to be trying some crazy black magic to undo that, and that don't do that, because it's going against free will. Yeah. So why? Well, I bet you a bunch of you are like, so why would you agree to do that? But we do. We do. All of us agree to some things that would sound absolutely crazy right now if you were thinking about it. Keep in mind that we do not incarnate to experience easy lives. I'm going to say it again. We do not incarnate to experience easy lives. We are here to learn. And the greatest motivator for deep transformative learning is suffering. This is why there's so much suffering on this planet. It is an opportunity for great transformation, deep personal transformation, deep collective planetary transformation. Suffering gives us an opportunity to become a better person. There is not a single, simple, straightforward answer to why this is selected for a lifetime. And again, it's because there's many reasons why. And I don't even know what all of those reasons are. I can share with you some of them that I know. So, and I mentioned this earlier. So sometimes the goal of taking on a certain type of challenge is partially about gaining experience. So as souls, the only way we can learn is through firsthand experience. Someone, you can die, let's say you die today and you're back in the spiritual world and someone else is like, "Man, I just came back from a lifetime and I was murdered and like this happened and that happened," and like you have these certain experiences, right? And if you've never been murdered, you're like, "Huh, like what is that like?" And it sounds insane, but we all want as a soul to experience all these things. Because it expands our learning, it deepens our understanding, it makes us more beautiful and more complex energies to have that knowledge and to hopefully have gained more love and compassion for it. But it sounds absolutely insane from a 3D perspective, because from this perspective, we're like, yeah, I just want to survive. Like I just want to I need food, I need water, I need shelter. I need a job. I need to be able to pay my bills. Like we're only focused on survival. We're not thinking of like the big picture of the soul. Let's see. This I'm just going to say this. So, and because some people don't realize this. So when I talk about experience, like the soul wanting experience, sometimes people don't realize that we incarnate into multiple roles within the same situation on purpose. So, one lifetime, you are the murderer, and the next lifetime, maybe even come back with the same soul, right? With the same soul who you killed. The next lifetime, you're the one who gets murdered. And then another lifetime, you are the family member, the close family member of the person who gets murdered, or you're the close family member, the person who did the murder. And so these are different perspectives on the same traumatic event, and these add depth and understanding, theoretically, to the soul. Now, obviously, you can go through those situations and you could feel hardened by them. You could feel less loving from those situations if you hold the trauma and you never process it. But if you are able in that lifetime or in any future lifetime, if you're able to process the trauma, there's an opportunity to gain wisdom from it, which is what we're all trying to get. We're all trying to get the wisdom, which is more love and more compassion. More love and more compassion. Um, I keep losing my place. This is such a long. I have so many notes on this. Okay, let's see. Yeah. So, in the case of people being diagnosed, let's say, with schizophrenia or psychosis, so this lifetime might be the time where they're the patient, right? But they've had other lifetimes where they were the family member, they were the caretaker, they were the teacher, they were the psychiatrist, they were the person working in the facility that cared for these individuals. like the psych ward, maybe, if that's where, depending on what time on Earth this is going on. So it would make sense to incarnate from multiple perspectives. Yeah. Karma could also be a factor in the decision to take on a lifetime like this. So a lot of people misunderstand karma. When you hear the word karma, you're like, karma means punishment. No, 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 no. Like there's no punishment. There's no punishment and there's no rewards in the spiritual realm, in the spiritual world. Like that is not how things run. That's a system developed by humans and probably on other planets as well. But it's a lower vibrational set of concepts. So nothing is punishment, but there is cause and effect, and there is a need to balance energy. Um, yeah, so karma is what allows the universe to regain balance. So, for example, and this is going back to the murderer one. So, you're the murderer in one lifetime, someone else is the one you murdered, and then you'll do an exact flip in the next lifetime to balance the karma. So, because that's what the universe needs, we're going to balance the karma, and that also gives both souls an opportunity to have both experiences. And so you can see just from that example that there's multiple things going on. We need to do this to balance karma, but we're doing this for experience. And so there's always these multiple factors. Let's see. Another partial reason for accepting this type of lifetime could be specific soul lessons that that individual is working on. And I'm gonna oversimplify this so that it kind of feels like it makes sense. But again, it's always much more complicated than this. So, my example, and again, I'm really oversimplifying, but let's say somebody has really debilitating anxiety. And let's pretend that that anxiety stems from trauma, um, where that person feels a need to be perfect. And if they're not perfect, it gives them a lot of fear. So, in the example, the anxiety stems from a fear of not being good enough or being rejected, right? You want to be perfect because if you're not perfect, it's not good enough. You're going to get rejected. That's why there are perfectionists. They fear rejection. So this person has anxiety about their performance at work or their performance at school or wherever. So that person having that debilitating anxiety, and they're not perfect, right? Because nobody's perfect. So if they are going through, if they're actually learning the lessons they came here to learn, that condition is trying to trigger for them. So what's going to happen is, I'm going to figure out how to word this clearly. So as the person learns, hopefully, not all of us learn all our lessons in all of our lifetimes, but let's say as that person learns that imperfection is worthy of love, that change in their belief system pulls power away from the anxiety, right? So, theoretically, we have conditions like that, not all of them, but we could have conditions like that where as we learn the lessons, it takes power away from the problem. I don't want to imply that learning these lessons is easy, because if it was easy, we would all be done with all of our lessons, right? It's not easy. And obviously it's not as simple as just like, oh, you just need to see this differently. Like, it's hard to change your perspective. It's hard to fight against the trauma, right? It's hard to make a new pathway. But for the sake of conversation, I'm just simplifying it. Okay, so let's go back to the free will that can play into these conditions. So I already mentioned that if you entered into a contract where you're supposed to have this for your whole life, so if you entered in, if it's part of your soul contract, then that's part of your free will. Another way your free will gets involved is once you're actually in the lifetime. So let's say part of this condition is about, well, I guess it could be a lot of things. I guess we could have it be about lessons. We could have it be about trauma. So how much you heal, how much you focus on, and how much you accomplish for your healing in this lifetime, it's part of your free will, right? Because you might be like, nope, I don't care about this. So you get to choose how much you heal. So your free will plays into your ability to manage the condition. Um, yeah, and you may or may not be ready to face some of these core traumas in this lifetime. And that is your free will. That is your choice, right? And there's no judgment on that. It's just the lifetime is an opportunity to face it, and then the soul gets to decide what they want to do with it. The biggest problem with free will is that the person is that person, I wrote this weird. The biggest problem with free will, though, is that person not yet recognizing a perspective that they are holding that is keeping them in that arrangement. Yeah. So a lot of times and I kind of consider that part of a lesson, to be honest. Sometimes it's how we're viewing a situation that's literally the key to getting out of it. Um, they have to first be aware of themselves enough to know where they need to change, and then they need to change it. So these are two very different things. So, for example, take someone who is hearing voices from demonic entities. There's a lot of energy work that can be done to support this kind of situation. However, at the end of the day, that person has to gain mastery over which thoughts they allow themselves to believe. So some thoughts will come in and they'll be directly from the demons, and those will be the harmful thoughts. If the person decides to accept those thoughts as truth and as what they believe, then their vibration they'll never heal, because they're going to be staying at the same vibration as those voices that are not wanting to let them evolve past it. If someone is able to, over time, master their thoughts enough to disregard the ones that come in that are not helpful, and they can choose a more joyful outlook and choose love over fear, then their vibration will rise, and it's going to be as you have joy, that raises your vibration, and it's no longer an exact match for down here where the demons are, so it's a lot harder to hear them. Now granted, what I'm describing is like not even a lifetime of work, but maybe like an entire existence of work. You have to think we've probably incarnated 1,000 times trying to master our thoughts, right? That's not an easy task on a 3D planet. I'm showing you it's possible, but man, it's hard, is the reality of it. Let me see what else I have here. Yeah, it is possible to overcome these conditions in the sense of regaining quality of life while still managing the effects of the condition. So, here's the thing. Like, let's do like perfect situation. You're schizophrenic. It's kind of ironic. You're schizophrenic, so you're connecting to the demonic energies that are talking to you. Let's say that's what it is. And you learn to master your thoughts. And maybe you do this with a combination of like medicine and meditation and maybe all these different methods that help you, and you have a great coach. And over time, you learn to disregard those thoughts and you learn to align with a higher vibrational set of thoughts. So in a perfect world, I don't think that person would ever get to the point where they just never hear from down here again. I think that it would just be something they would always be aware of, and they would constantly hear from the lower set of thoughts, and they would have to just be an expert at it and be like, nope, I know where this is coming from. I don't want that. So you're not cured, right? It doesn't just disappear. You just learn a new skill set as a result of the challenges. And so perfect, that's an ideal set of circumstances, which is not, I don't think we're there as a society yet to support these individuals properly. I think the important takeaway about like schizophrenia and psychosis is that those individuals are connecting with a different dimension that is just as real as the dimension that we are in. They're not crazy, but the reality they are trying to manage is very different from what someone who is always in the 3D experiences. Even conditions like depression create a new reality. The person is pulled into a lower vibration. And so even though, like, let's say you have depression, even though you're on a 3D planet, you've literally created a new reality because your vibration just dropped into like 2D. So even though you're 3D through your free will, essentially, you're now living in 2D, which is insane, but completely true. People who are depressed often deal with thoughts of suicide. So anytime there's a thought of suicide, that is a demonic energy that you're connecting with. The soul, the person, will never have that thought originate from them. It is always from an outside source. So any of you who have ever had suicidal thoughts, or God forbid you're dealing with that now, that was never you. That was never you. That has always been demonic energies. So if your emotions drop you into that lower vibration, it opens you up to hear those voices as if they are your own thoughts. Anxiety works in a similar way. It either makes certain things, or like nearly everything sometimes, feel like a life or death situation. So the person with extreme anxiety, or even if they don't have extreme anxiety, even if they're just having like panic attacks, whenever that person is in the anxiety, they have an altered reality because they're in so much fear and worry that, again, they've dropped themselves down into 2D, even though they're living in a 3D world. It takes a lot of time and a lot of strength to slowly turn away from the thoughts that are damaging and to fully embrace thoughts that align with the vibration that you want to be in. Okay, so this is where I'm going to end the video. So I kind of just dabbled all around to give all of you a better idea of kind of what's going on from an energetic perspective. And I do think there are solutions. I do think there are really real solutions to these problems. But again, I don't feel like society is set up quite yet to support these individuals, but I feel like it's coming. I feel like we're going to get there really soon. And so if you if you are someone who struggles with one of these things, or you love someone who struggles with one of these things, the best thing they can do is address it from multiple perspectives. So go to the psychologist or go to the psychiatrist and get their best possible information to support you, and go to the spiritual worker and let them look at your energy and let them figure out a plan for helping you from that side as much as possible. Because the more angles you take, the more healing is possible for you. Because the thing you don't want to do is tell yourself, like, there's nothing that can be done. We're just going to sedate the person and that's it. Like, you might need sedation, right? You might need some level of sedation, but there are always things that can be done, especially if that person feels like they want assistance. If they have enough of a grip still on the 3D world that they can indicate that they want help, there's more that can be done there. But I guess we're all just going to get there one step at a time. Okay. I want to remind all of you, I'm going to try to be reminding you guys in like all of my videos because I have so many things. So one thing I want to remind you about, there are some really intense dark viruses that are circulating on Earth right now. So if you are someone who's already had the dark virus healing service with me, there is a video that came as part of that service that's like the dark virus healing tune-up. If you get physically ill, or if you go out in a group of people and you kind of come back feeling yucky, listen to that music and it will clear those energies off of you, because these are things that are circulating on Earth that, as far as I can tell, are going to be circulating on Earth for the foreseeable future, I guess. But use that video to clear yourself. If you get a physical illness, or again, if you hang out with some people and then you just kind of feel yucky after that, use it as much as you need to. If you haven't had that service, this is a great time to get that service, because again, you'll be able to control clearing those energies moving forward whenever you need to. As part of the service, I will clear them for you originally, but if you happen to pick up more of them as life goes on, you have the ability to keep clearing it. The other thing I want to remind all of you about is there is a karmic window, I guess is what I'm going to call it right now, a karmic window that is opening. It's open now. It's open now, but basically it's going to be open, I believe, through like the end of March is what I'm thinking. That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. Yeah, okay. I can't remember because I channeled this before, like during another video, but I'm going to say January, February, March. There's this window, this opportunity that has become available to us, and it's tied into the position of the planets. I know that sounds weird. The planets and the moon, the planetary alignment slash lunar alignment is what is creating this. But there's a window of time where we're going to be able to clear negative trauma that typically, that's not how I want to say it. There's some types of negative karma that we were not going to have the opportunity to clear in this lifetime, but something changed with the timeline, something changed somewhere, because now there's this opening where we can dig a little bit deeper and balance out and clear this negative karma. A lot of times you have to do something to clear negative karma, but there are other kinds where you don't have to do anything. You can just go to someone who is able to clear these for you. My business partner, Susan, has a service called Soul Deep Clean. So if you're interested in that, that includes the negative karma clearing, or if you've already had that session, if you want to, you can reach out to us. Susan can do a custom session for you to have that cleared for you, because this is like, I don't know what's going on. I'm getting such crazy messages about like February and just kind of like the year as a whole. Like, it's kind of exciting, but it's kind of intimidating all at once. And I have most of my February energy update information right now. So I will I might put that out as the next video. I guess it just depends. But I have most of it already. I think that's everything. Like, there was one other thing I needed to remind you guys about. Dark viruses, negative karma. Man, I'm going to remember it after this video. I feel like there was something else. I really can't. Was there something else? He's like, no, this is just how you feel. Nothing else? Okay. Metatron says it's fine, so it's fine. Okay, this is everything that I have for you, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.